Why is this bicycle seat down here instead of up here? Well, it's the thing that's locking it to this post over here. It's the CDLock, and it's a bicycle seat with an integrated lock. It's really dumb. That's why I bought it. I wanted to make fun of it, but actually, I think this thing might be good. Here it's installed on my wife's Vado. I suspect she's gonna tell me to remove it because she's gonna think it's ugly, but you remove the lock, you unfold it, then we get one of the keys here. Lock comes apart. The metal part of the folding lock is covered in plastic so it doesn't scratch up your bike. There we go. Okay, it's locked up. Yeah, there's a bicycle seat locking the bicycle. Now, we can't talk about bike locks without talking about bicycle security, and your bike is only as secure as the location you're locking it in. A nice bike, you just can't keep safe anywhere if there are professional bike thieves present. And so we can assume that this is about as secure as any folding bike lock in the $50 price range, and that's all up to you. The question is, are you better off just carrying a $50 folding lock with you? And I don't know, let's put it back on the bike and see how it works as a seat. So clearly this wins the award for the ugliest bicycle seat ever in history. I mean, look at all this here, but if you don't care about that, it is a pretty easy way to not forget your lock, and it's not the worst seat. I figured something like this would just be terrible. I think it's more comfortable than the seat that came on her bike. Probably get it in black, but it's got a relief zone over here. The materials seem okay, and actually the thing comes on and off pretty easy. You flip this little lever here, and it just slides off. You put it back on. It does move around a little bit. It's not gonna be perfect, but I suspect if you're riding around with a CDLock, you're not that picky.
Is that my new seat?
It can be your new seat. I'll take it off if you need me to.
I don't know, I'll have to test it.
Okay, I think she might already be telling me to take this off her bike. So obviously I have a few criticisms about this that I'm gonna get to, but I kind of love this thing. I guess you have to be at that point in your life where you're just walking around with like Crocs and Margaritaville shirts and stuff to not care what this looks like, but I don't know, it's super practical. It's always with you. I'm like a huge fan of integrated tools and things that you can't forget on your bike. I'm not gonna use it, but there's a place for this. My criticism. So first of all, the saddle itself, you could steal off the lock with 2 security Torx bolts, and so you could come back and not have the seat. Is somebody gonna steal the saddle part? Probably not. It is hefty, but if you're carrying around a lock, you've already come to terms with that. And it is, I would say, a medium security lock. And so at $80, I'd say it's a pretty decent value. But again, you're gonna have to be realistic about what you're doing here. I would use this in a place where I would normally not even need a bike lock, and so I'm just trying to stop opportunistic thieves from just grabbing my bike and going. You're not gonna cut this with a scissor or even a small pair of bolt cutters. This is gonna take some doing, and so I don't know, it's kind of cool, it's kind of useful, it's kind of ugly, but man, the CDLock. So while we're adding cool accessories to Amy's bike, you might have a mirror on your bike if you ride around town, you know, to see behind you. That's for poor people. What you really want to do is go on Amazon, spend $55, and get a rear view camera. So yeah, the screen's got a battery, it mounts to your handlebar, you run this cable across the bike, they give you these little Velcro ties to make it look nice, and then you have a battery-powered screen up here that shows you what's behind the bike. Why not use a mirror? Well, there are certain applications where I could see this being useful, but not what they suggest it for. They show somebody surfing, and I can see a problem with that. When you're surfing, you're outside in the sun, right? And this screen is super reflective, and I don't think this thing is bright enough to even see if we were out there in the sun. I mean, I can barely see it as it is. If you move this wire around, the screen goes blue, goes completely blank, and then you wiggle it again and it comes back. Yeah, just leave it perfectly still on a moving bicycle that you're steering around with a wire that's attached with like Velcro things. Who thought this was a good idea? Not to mention you have to charge it, it costs more than a mirror. This is worse than a mirror in almost every single way, but I do see one really good application for this. If you're towing a kid trailer behind you, you could have this situated right on the back of the bike and show the kid trailer so you can keep an eye on your kids, and then glance down to check on your kids, make sure they're not tangled up in the seatbelt or something like that. And guys, the way I get these products is I just sit there on Amazon, all sorts of bike websites, and when something pops out at me as interesting, I buy it. This was an instantaneous purchase. I was like, but I didn't even add it to my cart to check out later in case I forgot. I was like, buy now. I have got to see this. I think I might use this, but not for bicycle stuff. Maybe I'll put the camera outside my garage so I can see delivery people coming, although I kind of have a ring cam for that. But this is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen before. And if they were truly trying to engineer this for a bike, to adapt it to a bike, they would make it so that the cable is a little thinner so that you could actually run it with the rest of your cables. They would make it so it had a better plug than this that doesn't come loose every time you steer. They would make the screen anti-glare so that when you're using it where you use a bicycle outside, you can see it. And they would probably make the screen brighter. This is just taking a product that was designed for something else and then trying to adapt it to bicycles so that people buy it. And they got me. I bought it to make fun of. He's like, I'm going back inside. So I think we've attached enough accessories to this bike. Let's bring out a new bike. The Mongoose Envoy. Yeah, I've kind of been collecting cargo bikes and it's got to stop, but this is the last one. Now I'm showing this bike to you today because I think it's really cool and I think it's a really good value, but truth be told, I got it because I had plans for it. I was going to heavily modify it into kind of a project bike, and then our whole world came crashing down here in Western North Carolina. But it's a cargo bike. It's an analog cargo bike. Doesn't have a motor. Those are hard to come by now. And for the price, which is below $1,000, it comes with so many things that you'd normally have to pay extra for. For example, it comes with these bags, which are really useful and have magnetic latches. It has the rack, which is just part of the frame. You don't even have to install it. It has running boards. It has full fenders, and it's just equipped really well for the price. This is the kind of bike that you could leave at like a beach house and neglect for 3 years, pump up the tires and pedal away. No charger, no nothing, easy to pedal. You can go grocery shopping with it. You can put seats on the back and carry your kids. That's why I love cargo bikes. It's the versatility, but oftentimes they can be kind of up there and then you have to pay for the accessories. So I'll give you the pros and cons of the Mongoose Envoy. As I said, it comes with everything. You do not need to buy one accessory for this thing. That's kind of why I got it. But also, this rack back here is more sturdy than racks I've seen on a lot of cargo bikes because it's part of the frame. If you want to change it out, you're gonna need a cutoff wheel, but hopefully you won't. And because it's aluminum, it's pretty stiff. It doesn't flex around. It comes with nice big fat tires, which is nice. You could air them down and go on gravel roads or what have you. And they even added this little faux steering damper, which is pretty useful on a cargo bike because they can get sketchy, especially when they're under heavy load. I even like the handlebars. It's perfect for mounting all sorts of accessories like we did with that bike, and it has a nice comfortable sweep to it. Now the cons, you're getting a lot for the money, and so it's not high-end stuff, right? This kickstand doesn't have the widest stance, and if you're loading it down with heavy stuff, you might want to get one that's a little bit wider. Drivetrain is nothing to write home about. Like I said, this is the stuff that comes on the bike. It is ready for anything, but you can upgrade it if it needs to be ready for more. It has 26-inch wheels, which could be a pro or a con, depending on how you look at it. Most cargo bikes do have small wheels because you want to keep the center of gravity low. And if you want to change out the brakes or the drivetrain, you have to change both at the same time because the shifters are built into the levers. But it is modern. It has a tapered head tube, so it's ready for any fork you want to put in it. And it's got little hex bolts everywhere for mounting stuff. You could customize this to no end. The bags are one of the best parts about it because they're made to fit on this bike, so they come off super easy, yet they're secure. There are all these hooks, so you unhook these top ones, and then you push the bottom ones off. It takes 10 seconds to remove the bag, and then you have a handle and you can take it with you. And then when you want to put it back on the bike, you just hook these bottom ones and just lift it over the top, and they hook right in, and you're on your way. Here's another cool feature I love, and it's a little bit sketchy. You can tell somebody had a lot of fun designing this. This handle right here, what do you think that's for? I don't know, but I know what I would use it for. I would sit up here, put my feet down on these here running boards, and then hold on to this. I love products that are a really good value with a lot of features because I can recommend them to you guys and you can do all sorts of fun stuff with them, and I can't wait to do a project with this Mongoose Envoy. So if this is a really long bike, then this is a really short bike. This is my 32-inch high wheel, and despite owning it for over a year, I haven't talked much about it. Now, a high wheel is otherwise known as a penny farthing, or when they were popular over 100 years ago, it's called an ordinary bicycle. And this is a novelty bike. There's really no practical purpose to own one now, except to have fun. And for many reasons, I would say this is one of the best choices of novelty bikes you can get, because everybody wants to try it. It turns heads, it's fun. And I use it as a sort of underbike. So if there are a bunch of kids over my house riding around circles in the driveway, it's no fun to ride a road bike or a mountain bike or something capable. You get on this thing because it's hard to ride. Now these are sold on unicycle.com because it has all of the components of a unicycle. I mean, this is a unicycle if you took it apart and put a seat on the steerer tube. They have the hubs, they have the cranks, they have everything they need, and it's sold in several different sizes. Now when I bought this, it was pretty close to around 400 bucks. It's closer to 5 now. Inflation. So yeah, it might not be an impulse buy for everyone, but it's kind of within the price range of something that you would get to have around for fun. And I bet if I sold this right now in the condition it's in, it would hold value pretty well. Now, another thing I love about my penny farthing is that it's actually pretty comfortable. It's got this leather saddle that has suspension in it, and you just kind of sit back and sit up and just go around circles in the driveway. And using an underbike for that is a bike that is less capable than the task at hand, is really fun because it takes something that's simple and makes it interesting. And so if you have young kids or you're gonna ride with some people in your family that don't go very fast, this could make it a lot more interesting. Now the front wheel is 32 inches and there's a lot of rubber on here. The rear wheel, I think it's about 4.5, 5 inches, and it's just a solid piece of rubber around the rim. There is no air that goes into this thing. You take it on some gravel or off-road, it gets kind of sketchy, but like I said, this is gonna be for riding around circles in your driveway, riding around a nice flat neighborhood. Doesn't have brakes, so you don't want to take it down really steep hills. If you have to stop, you're actually kind of putting back pressure on the pedals, which makes it kind of fun. There are no gears on this thing, it's all kind of fixed. But the good thing about that is there's nothing to maintain on it, which makes it a great novelty bike because it might sit around for a few months before you use it again. But despite purchasing this just for that one penny farthing video, I end up using this all the time just because it's so much fun. Everybody wants to try it, everybody wants to see it, everybody's asking questions about it. It's a cool conversation starter, and for that reason, I recommend it if you're looking for something cool and unique just to tool around on. Now you might also notice this little guy right up here, it's a very, very tiny action camera called the Insta360 Go, and it's great for telling stories. This little guy fits in here, and then it starts charging. Now, before I tell you any more about this, I need to disclose that I'm working with Insta360 on a completely different video. This is unrelated, but obviously I'm still biased. I just wanted to show you this particular camera because it's so interesting. See, this action pod that it sits in actually has a flip screen, and so you can use it like a vlogging camera. And now you can see what's on the screen, which is nice, right? But now, if I take this camera out, it continues to show what's on the screen. Why is that useful? Well, if I put it in, let's say, my helmet here, I can then put my helmet on, and I can make sure that my camera is at the right angle because I can preview it right here on the screen. That's really nice because I hate using apps. This is much better. These are like permanently bonded for life. Now, where does all the data go? Well, it goes in here. This actually records locally 120 gigabytes, which is enough. You can start the recording from here, or you can start the recording from here, and even make these little built-in wind mufflers, so if you're going fast or it's windy, the sound comes out good. Now, sound quality, not bad. Now, being able to fit it on a visor and basically not even notice it, that is really nice, but there's another place you can mount it. They give you this pendant. You put it around your neck, drop it into your shirt, and then it just sticks to it. And so you have a camera there. So if you want to document some experience and you want to be hands-free, it's right there. Now, I wouldn't go mountain biking with it here. You're going to get some pretty bad footage. This is not a big, powerful action camera. It's good enough for what it is. And for that reason, it's fantastic for storytelling, which is what I use it for. I like to be able to mount it in places that you can't mount action cameras anymore because they're all getting bigger. I can frame up shots because I'm not tied to using an app and messing with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. And I can frame up myself and use it as a vlogging camera just like this. Just the quickness of it and the easiness of it is what I like about it so much. This is to bring with you to have a really flexible camera that you can use for just about anything. And the reason I'm showing this to you is because it's kind of what everybody's been asking for. We want action cameras that get smaller. They keep getting bigger, they keep getting more powerful, and that's great. The video quality is unbelievable, but the whole point of an action camera is to have something small. Now we're asking ourselves, why are we not just using our phones? I really like the Go, and I kind of slept on it. I put this aside and didn't even test it, but I'm happy to say it was worth looking at, and as long as you know what it's realistically designed for, it's a really handy little camera. Now these next products are from Jordan Pitcher, who's 11 years old. I love reviewing products from kid engineers and kid entrepreneurs, but when they suck, I don't review them, and so these ones are good. These are soft jaws for your vise, and they're sized for suspension forks and dropper seat posts, so when you're servicing them, you can hold them still without scratching them, and there's a lot more here than just a 3D printed part. Now, first of all, you're not gonna lose either part here because he has them together with elastic, but also there are magnets here so it'll stay in place on your vise like a good soft jaw should. Now, having reviewed a lot of 3D printed parts, I know that the orientation that it's printed in and the material you choose can have a huge effect on the strength of the part. It looks like you did a good job here. These are very robust and actually quite heavy. It's even better than I thought. I didn't even notice this. So look at this. You can put the steer tube in this way, fill up bath oil or whatever, and then look at this. It mounts onto it, so you can actually have the suspension fork at an angle. That is strong, and it's definitely not gonna scratch it. And then you could put it this way and hold it out. So no matter what position you want to put your fork in or your dropper post, he's got an angle here. Very innovative, very strong, and very functional. I could see somebody in a bike shop using this. And so with that, I was just informed that I have to remove this seat off of this bike, so I'm gonna get to work on that. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for riding with me today, and I'll see you next time.